This is 3 and Out presented by Comerica. I'm Dannie Rogers, and I want to get you as ready and as informed for the Lions' next opponent here in Week 5, those Minnesota Vikings. So we're talking to the opposing view. We're bringing in Tatum, Everett, Vikings on-air host and talent. We're going to go through the 3 biggest headlines in Minnesota. We're going to start with Vikings needing to close out games, playing those complete games. I know here in Detroit, we have those same feelings. Plus, we're going to talk about the offensive line redeeming themselves. And then we're going to talk that defense. And Tatum thinks they are on the brink of having a breakout game. So we'll get to that as well. But first, Tatum, let's talk about the Vikings needing to close out games. What have you seen that has really been their Achilles heel in that realm so far?
You know, Danny, the Vikings start out the game hot. They've scored on the opening drive in the last 3 games. And the offense does well when it's scripted by offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. It's later on in the game that they start to lose their steam, and they haven't been able to score in the second half of the last 3 games either. And that's something that they're really trying to address this week. Around here, you know, that this last performance against the Browns was very disheartening after such a dominant performance against the Seahawks. Kirk Cousins never had a clean pocket, and we all know that that's the key to making this Vikings offense run. As long as you've got the run game going and Kirk gets a clean pocket, they're almost unbeatable. But that's been really tough for this offensive line so far.
There it is, Tatum. You're jumping to that offensive line. I talked with head coach Dan Campbell here in Detroit this week. He says it starts with the run game in Minnesota. If the Lions can limit that they have a chance. So run game, only 65 yards on the ground against the Browns last week. How can this offensive line redeem themselves here in Week 5?
You know, it's funny, that first week against the Bengals, it was looking really bleak for the offensive line, but they've really picked up their play until last week, when they were allowed Kirk Cousins. He was pressure on half his dropbacks. He had 22 quarterback hurries, which the Vikings are 0-4 if there are 22 or more quarterback hurries. So like I said, the clean pocket and getting that run game going will be key this week. Last week, the first-round draft pick from this past season, Christian Darrisaw, was finally active. He hasn't seen a lot of practice time. He's been struggling with an injury, so that could be a factor going into this one.
Dalvin Cook, he was out Week 3, one of the top running backs on this team in the league. He played in Week 4, had a quieter Week 4. Is he full strength now heading into Week 5, though?
Still a little early to tell right now if Dalvin Cook will be full strength, but you know, we're only heading into Week 5. So I know the coaching staff's mindset is making sure we get as many guys healthy throughout the season. So using the tandem of Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook, I think, is going to be the key to making Dalvin Cook's health continue throughout the year.
Talking with head coach Dan Campbell and offensive line coach Hank Fraley here in Detroit, they say that the Mike Zimmer defense, it is ever evolving. You have to stay 1 to 2 steps ahead of it. Tatum, you said they're on the brink of having a breakout game. So what have you seen that leads you to that observation?
It just hasn't come together just yet, but these are a lot of new faces that maybe Lions fans don't know the names of. You have Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle. Michael Pierce will be kind of a game time decision. He is struggling with an injury right now, but those 2 guys were really big free agent acquisitions, as well as Sheldon Richardson, right there in the middle to stuff the run and stop that part of the game. But then you've got the outside. You have Danielle Hunter, as you mentioned, and they signed Everson Griffin. He's back. I know he spent a little bit of time in Detroit, and he says he's ready to whoop up on his old team because this team needs to be fired up to win. I just spoke to Everson today, and he said that they need to go out there and prove that they want this win more, that they need this win more. And I have a feeling that juice he brought in just our Wednesday interview will be on full display this weekend. Everson's kind of coming into his own too. He has 2 sacks on the year in just 3 games, and he's the 24th best pass rusher in the league right now. So he's really starting to come into his own, which is a scary thought that he could be on one end with Danielle on the other.
All right, Tatum, to close this thing out, I mean, Detroit, Minnesota, we are almost in similar boats. Vikings 1-3, Detroit 0-4. Talking with head coach Dan Campbell this week, he says he is not allowing any anchors on this team to bring down the mental state of the Detroit Lions. But what are the vibes? What's the energy in Minneapolis?
Yeah, this team feels like they're right there. They just have to put, as I said, referencing the first point, a complete game performance together. They're not down and out despite what the record says. Their margin of defeat's only 11 points. And we've said for a couple of weeks now, heading into that, even the Seahawks game, you're 4 points away from being 2-0 and beating Russell Wilson. So this team feels like they're getting there. And you know, something I've been saying all week, this matchup, when you look at the records, may not be, you know, the sexiest matchup in the NFL this week, but these two teams are hungry and starving and desperate for wins, which to me is going to make for a great matchup on Sunday here at US Bank Stadium. And I know that these Vikings fans and these Vikings really believe in themselves, that they're better than what their record says.
All right, Tatum, thank you so much for joining us here on 3 and Out. I cannot wait to come to your city this weekend.
Oh, you're going to be blown away by US Bank Stadium. Any Lions fans going, it's a whole new introduction. There's even a little bit of a surprise in the beginning, so make sure you look up before kickoff.